So Chrissie, you win this thing 2 times in a row, and you have never lost an Ironman, and you come into this year, and obviously you're the mark person. Everybody thinks you're going to. Did you feel any extra pressure going into trying to win it for the 3rd time?
I put a considerable amount of pressure on myself, and I have huge expectations of myself to perform and to do myself justice. So I don't think the expectations and the pressure that others put on me really adds to that. I don't think it makes it any worse. Of course, there were expectations. There was additional pressure. There were additional obligations. But that kind of gets me fired up rather than bring me down. So I let that pressure be kind of the wind beneath my wings, as it were, rather than crushing me.
All right. Well, take us back a little bit. As a kid, you were into all sorts of different sports. What was there something that you focused on more than others?
Yeah. My gymnastics career came to a grinding halt about 5 years old when I kept falling off the balance beam. I learned very quickly that I was never going to be a gymnast. So I joined the local swimming club, aged about 9 years old, and that's really the sport that I focused on, not in a very, very serious way, as much for the social side,
right,
as anything else. But yeah, as a youngster and up until 18 when I went to university, I was a competitive swimmer.
Okay, and then when you went to university, you didn't go there as an athlete. You went there as a student.
Yeah, definitely as a student. And I did join the swimming club. I was captain of the swimming club, but that was definitely much more for the social side than any kind of...
You were the party girl. They liked you. You weren't really the fastest swimmer of the team, but you were the best partier on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I was the one... I was not known for my swimming prowess, let's just say. I went to university really wanting to do well academically. That was my focus. So I focused on my studies. I did some voluntary work also while I was at university, but yeah, swimming was something I did recreationally.
Okay, and out of school, you went to work for who? Where did you go to work when you were in
Well, after I graduated from my first degree, I was going to go traveling for 9 months. So my parents said, yeah, okay, go for 9 months. And I came back 2 years later. With not too much in my bank balance. But I think it was when I was traveling that I really gained a different perspective about the world and the people in it. And I went from wanting to be an attorney to being very, very passionate about international development and environmental issues. So I decided while I was away that I wanted to study international development, international political economy. So I went and did my master's at Manchester University. So I put off going to work for another year. So I studied at Manchester, and after that I got a job working for the UK government as a advisor on international development policy.
Whoa, just like every other professional triathlete, I think. Same type of background. So international, when did you leave that job, or was it part of that job when you went to Nepal and Tibet?
No, I worked for the government. I was helping to negotiate new UN environmental policy, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic experience, working very closely with with the ministers and some high-level political figures. But I also got very disillusioned because my real passion was affecting positive change on the ground.
Right.
And it's very difficult at that level to see any positive change that you can make. A lot of it is just rhetoric. So I decided to take a sabbatical and found myself a job working for a Nepali development organization based in Kathmandu. So in September 2004, I went to live and work in Nepal.
Right, and you were making how much a month working up there?
Oh, I was raking it in about $80 a month, yeah. Which is much more than the average Nepali
Right.
makes.
And more than
Sometimes in a year.
most professional triathletes too. Okay, so while you're living up there in the Kathmandu Valley, you meet a gal named Billy Beerling, who just summited Everest in May, by the way, and she becomes a training buddy. In fact, she came on the radio show and talked about how she was sort of the studette of the mountain. She was a tough mountain biker, and you rolled in there one day and started riding with the group, and she's like, I don't know who this new girl is, and she's going to be nothing, and then you started dropping her. But you guys would do some pretty hellacious rides in the mornings before you were supposed to get to work at 9. You'd take off at like at 6 in the morning, and you're not just riding up at altitude. At Kathmandu Valley, you're what, at 8,000 feet, something like that?
Yeah, it's about that, and we'd climb higher as well. But it was a fantastic way of keeping fit, of
Right.
course, satisfying that, craving for adrenaline, but also seeing something of the landscape. I rode a lot. Billy and I rode a lot with Nepali guys, so we really were very fortunate in that we learn a lot about their society and their culture, just through riding and spending time talking to them. But what I really loved was that the cycling, the mountain biking, and I also did some running out there, but it wasn't really training in a structured sense. There were no logbooks. I didn't record anything. We just went out there for a couple of hours each morning, and just went up and down, and wherever the mood took us, we'd went. So we became incredibly fit.
Right.
But it didn't feel like training. It was just
Fun.
It was fun, and it was sport at its absolute rawest, I think.
And Billy talked about, because obviously the water quality up there is not great. A lot of mornings you'd be out there and you got little parasites in your belly. You're dealing with Giardia. You're sick, and that's why I think it's sort of funny when people talk about how tough it is at Ironman, and you're out there on these rides up in the Kathmandu Valley up at 12,000 feet with parasites in your belly riding. You did like 1,000-kilometer ride, and when you do something like Ironman, it has to feel like it's not that hard. Compared to what you were doing.
I never want to say Ironman is not hard, but it's a different type of
Different type of hard.
Of difficulty. But yeah, when we cycled from the capital of Tibet, Lhasa, over the Himalayas back to Kathmandu.
Wait, just take that in for a second. Over the Himalayas. Okay.
Via Everest Base Camp, which is at 15,000 feet.
15,000 feet. We're going for a bike ride to Everest Base Camp. We'll be back.
But yeah, I mean, we were cycling through sandstorms up there, snowstorms, and yeah, you contract all kinds of little GI gremlins as well. But that was part and parcel of it, and you just soldiered on. I think the experience and the beauty of the landscape and the cultures that I felt fortunate enough to encounter made any kind of discomfort pale into insignificance.
Okay, so when you leave there and you come back to England, how quickly did you get into the sport of triathlon?
I did a couple of sprint distances and an Olympic distance in 2004, so prior to going to Nepal. So
Right.
I knew what triathlon was, but I was doing them very much as an amateur. I was doing them with my trainers. I remember the first race I did, I was wearing my trainers and all the laces got caught around the crank, so I'm like spinning and then into T2, over I go.